Welcome back. President Muhammadu Buhari will welcome 36 ministers designate to the presidential villa for a two-day retreat, has urged them to buy into his vision of building a more viable nation while remaining agents of change.
Speaking at the opening of a two-day retreat for Nigeria's nominated cabinet ministers at the presidential palace in Abuja, President Muhammadu Buhari told ministers that Nigerians are eagerly waiting for their government to tackle the country's worst economic crisis in decades.
The work of restoration and renewal is urgent and immense. The expectations of Nigerians are high. Our determination to succeed and change the fortunes of our country must be equal to the challenge. I have invited you to join me in this urgent mission for our country. I am convinced that in accepting this invitation, you are also equally determined to take part in this patriotic undertaking.
Foreign investors and Nigerian firms have criticized President Buhari for waiting until late September to nominate cabinet members when Africa's largest economy is taking a hammering from a plunge in oil revenue. During his speech, the president reminded his ministers that the government will be expected to be prudent with their spending.
The objective of this retreat is clearly reflected in the choice of topics which we will be dealing with during the sessions. The need for observing the rule of law is being emphasized to ensure that impunity is removed from government conduct. You are coming on board the ship of governance at an interesting time. So much has been said about the state of our economy. It is expected that we make the running of government at all levels as lean as possible.
Nigeria's Senate confirmed the remaining 18 candidates last Thursday, completing the approval of all the 36 incoming cabinet ministers. One controversial figure was Rotimi Amechi, the former governor of oil-rich Rivers State, who denies corruption allegations against him. The president launched the first steps to reform the oil sector in Africa's biggest producer and fight graft, which is blamed for most of the nation of 170 million people living in poverty, despite Nigeria's vast energy wealth. In Nigeria, ministers are nominated and approved before their portfolios are announced. The Senate confirmed the remaining 18 candidates on Thursday, October the 29th, completing the approval of all the 36 incoming cabinet ministers.
In the meantime, the UK Minister for Africa, Mr. Grant Sharp, says if Nigeria wants to develop its economy, it must make itself attractive to investors. Speaking to my colleague Amarachi Ubani here in Lagos, Mr. Sharp says Nigeria will prosper if the government tackles the menace of corruption, improves the nation's erratic power supply, and also shifts its attention from oil as its major source of revenue.
Well, first of all, it's great to be in Nigeria and really enjoyed the last 3 days seeing a bit of the country. I went and launched this £100 million programme, and accountability, transparency, good governance, I think it's incredibly important. President Buhari has made a very big thing out of wanting to ensure that systems are as free and fair as possible, that corruption is rooted out. This programme, if you like, is a contribution towards that. It's saying, actually, if citizens can see how their money is spent, if they can track each line, if the government is therefore made to be accountable for that spending, then we'll have a much better outcome. That's, I think, obvious why it's important for Nigeria. As a partner, as I hope the preferred partner in the world, it's really important for Great Britain as well. We want to back that very important agenda, and that's why we've launched this big programme.
Is this a new partnership with the new government? Because, well, you're reading the body language from President Muhammadu Buhari saying that corruption will no longer be tolerated in Nigeria and so on. Is this Britain's new partnership with Nigeria to enforce that?
Well, yes, and actually, of course, at the same time, both in May this year, we've had a new government elected in the United Kingdom, a Conservative government. We've had this new government elected here with the first peaceful transfer of power. So a new dawn, I suppose, in both cases. But we're very keen to back that agenda. dealing with corruption, which is so corrosive, which damages every level of society, from business to individuals who are cheated out of their tax money, don't get the services they want, and therefore, it just damages, the whole country. So I think, not only is the president absolutely right to highlight this, but actually, rather than just applaud that, there's something practical we can do, and that's why in the United Kingdom we are big partners with Nigeria, and that's why we've brought forward this £100 million programme to help.
And one of the first places you went to was Abuja, which 2 weeks ago experienced 2 twin bomb explosions. Not that Nigeria has been like that for the past 6 years. What specifically is Britain doing to help Nigeria in the fight against insurgency?
Well, look, first of all, I just want to extend the United Kingdom's condolences for what happened. We have lived in the United Kingdom, and did live in the United Kingdom, with many years of terrorism from Irish republicanism at the time, which eventually was brought to an end. And you can only in the end do this through a whole number of different things which need to take place. Of course, there's the security environment, making sure that soldiers are trained. One of the things that I did yesterday was went to the north and saw British soldiers helping to train Nigerian forces in order to take on that battle. And you can't underestimate the importance of getting that response, the physical, military response right. But it's also about many other things, recognising the problems which help to create the environment in which terrorists can thrive by offering an alternative to young people. So there are many other things which, of course, will need to happen over time, including job creation, creating a stronger economy, enabling people to see that they have a future, and they have a future within an inclusive Nigeria where everyone knows that they have something ahead of them that's worth living for. So I think there are many different aspects to this, but to your question, the UK is backing with military assistance and certainly training in that fight against Boko Haram, and it's a fight that obviously must be won.
And we've seen that support intensify, especially at the time the Chibok girls were abducted. Britain, just like the United States and some other countries in the West, all came to the side of Nigeria, promising support and all that. More than 500 days later, we're still looking for the girls. So what else is Britain doing to help to find these girls and bring them back?
Well, I think one of the things in that case, and by the way, we're still working alongside Nigeria on that case, that's not over. But one of the things that potentially happens over a period of time is that a big group of people like that, girls like that, would potentially get split up and then be difficult to identify. The key, therefore, is to have really fast response, very fast action. And I think even now, winding forward, the response is starting to get much quicker and better, even when there is an incident of any type now of terrorism. So that sort of collective response, which agency of the government should do what, how, the army and the government, everybody else should work together. Those things are really important. That is a key area that the United Kingdom is very happy to help support, provide assistance and practical help in.
Do you think the December deadline given by the president to eradicate Boko Haram is possible?
Well, look, the situation on the ground will depend on a whole variety of different things, and I obviously, having been to the north and had some of these conversations with our own personnel, army, doing the training. Our job, I think, is not to commentate on what other people have said, but simply to provide that assistance. And whether or not the timetable is precise, one thing I do think is that the determination with which the new president has decided to tackle this is welcome for all Nigerians, and he will get the support of the international community and the United Kingdom, I think, and I hope, and foremost amongst that, in helping to win that absolutely essential.
Just before we end the program, let's take a look at other stories making the rounds in diplomatic circles. And that's our program this week, but you can share your comments, questions and suggestions with us by sending them to any of the addresses showing on your screen. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Temitope Fagbemi.